So this is our first time in the French Quarter, and this what proceeds here is 3 days, a little bit of intoxicated debauchery, and some good food tasting. But what else are you going to do in the French Quarter of New Orleans? So stay tuned, stick around, and if you happen to like this type of thing, like and subscribe. Welcome to the French Quarter of New Orleans, where the streets are alive with music, the air is thick with the aroma of beignets, and the only thing more colorful than the buildings are the characters who roam them. Buckle up as we take a ride through the hilariously rich history of this iconic neighborhood. Once upon a time, in the 18th century, the French Quarter was born. Imagine a bunch of French settlers arriving in the sweltering heat, declaring, "This is a great place for a party." They promptly named it Vieux Carré, which sounds fancy but translates to Old Square, because who doesn't love a little French flair for the obvious? The architecture, well, it's a delight. It's a blend of French, Spanish, and Creole styles like a melting pot of design. You had wrought iron balconies that screamed, "I'm charming," and colorful facades that were practically begging for Instagram filters. The buildings have witnessed everything from raucous parties to ghostly encounters because, let's be real, the French Quarter has enough spirits to fill a bar. As the 19th century rolled in, the French Quarter became the social hub of New Orleans. Picture this: lavish balls, jazz musicians waiting on street corners, and locals sipping on cocktails as if they were water. It was the original Reel's Housewives scene, complete with drama, gossip, and enough flair to make a peacock blush. And don't get me started on Mardi Gras, where the parades are wild and the beats are a fashion statement. During the 20th century, the French Quarter embraced its quirky style. Artists, poets, and musicians flocked to the area, creating a bohemian paradise that thrived on creativity and chaos. If you weren't painting on the sidewalk or playing jazz in a quarter bar, were you even in the French Quarter? It's essentially a giant art gallery where the pieces are alive and slightly tipsy. Then came the tourists. Like moths to a flame, they descended upon the quarter, eager to experience its unique charm. They wandered through the narrow streets, snapping selfies and trying to pronounce chapatulas and devouring their way too many beignets, if that's even possible. The locals, in their usual style, welcomed them with open arms, cocktails in hand, and unspoken rule that what happens in the French Quarter stays in the French Quarter. Way before Vegas had that rule. Today, the French Quarter is a vibrant tapestry of culture, music, and food. You can find everything from jazz clubs to voodoo shops, and the only thing more diverse than the offerings is the crowd. Whether you're sipping on a Sazerac, dancing to a brass band, or chatting with a friendly ghost, they might be more approachable than some of the tourists. The French Quarter is a place where every moment feels like an adventure. So there you have it, the French Quarter, a neighborhood with a history as rich as its gumbo and a spirit as lively as its street performers. Just remember, when you visit, to embrace the madness, enjoy the music, and maybe keep an eye out for those mischievous spirits. They're known for stealing beignets and leaving behind a laugh or two.
Is this the Provincial? Look around for
courtyard.
Shelby Lawrence. I got the impression that the Provincial was on
What's the
before.
address? This is 1021. 1024 is the address.
Oh, Provincial.
Oh.
I see a thing there. Valet parking only. Please pull to the left of the driveway.
I don't want valet. I don't want that at all.
Well, I mean, we might.
Where's self-parking?
Hey guys, are you checking into Provincial?
Yeah.
Pull up behind that truck just like you
Okay. Is there any self-parking options at this hotel?
did. Sir, it's only valet parking.
Okay. So pull up behind him.
Right behind him, just like you.
Thanks. Okay, good. Here's the room. First quarter. New Orleans. Bathroom. There it is. So the wife and I started out on Bourbon Street, and we hit a few different places to get some drinks, and then we found our way into Fritzels European Jazz Club on Bourbon Street, and that's where we saw this first band here. I can't remember what their name was. They were pretty good. It was a really good experience, but one of the things we found was that the drinks were incredibly expensive. So after enjoying a little bit of this band, we decided that we were gonna get out and explore some of the French Quarter. And we found our way down to Frenchman Street, where we walked into this random Krewe Chebacca parade that had, like, it was this sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars. It had a little bit of every kind of nerdy thing going on, and it just so happens that I love a lot of those nerdy things. At one point, and you'll see it in the video here, at one point we even they had like even a little Delight vibe going on with Groove is in the Heart. It was incredibly 90s, and you know, it's just interesting that in Bourbon Street you could be walking around and see the most randomest things, walk into this huge parade, and all these, you know, scantily clad women and men, and people just living their best lives and having their best time, right? You don't see that everywhere, and it's one of the things that's very unique to Bourbon Street that we ran into. And there were just women dancing, and people in the streets were, you know, going crazy, dressed up in Furby outfits, and yeah. And as I mentioned, you had like well, I did mention you had some fembots in there from Austin Powers, and just everything in the world that you could possibly imagine from a like sci-fi, nerdy, pop culture type of vibe. It was all going on in this parade, and so we just stopped and you know, and sucked up some Delight Groove is in the Heart moments here, and then you know, they had the little fembots out there dancing. It was absolutely hilarious. There were all types of different robots and Trekkies, and just it was almost like a Comic-Con parade, right? You didn't know what was going to pop out next. And so after a while of enjoying this parade and all of the randomness of the French Quarter, we ended up finding our way. We started out on, well, the one nice thing about Frenchman Street is that the drinks were a lot less expensive. And so after enjoying this parade for a little bit, we first found our way into the Blue Nile. And in the Blue Nile, we caught this George Brown band. And I mean, these guys had the trumpets going, and this club was just popping. And I think this was like a Saturday night for us. Yeah, this was a Saturday night. And so this guy was jumping up and down off stage. He ends up kind of walking through the crowd, but I mean, the music was incredibly soulful, and everybody was into it. And he kind of marches through the crowd here, and I mean, this whole place was going off. And you know, to catch this in just kind of a random jazz club, you know, that you knew nothing about, we didn't do any research, we kind of stumbled into this. It was an incredible time. After that, we made our way to the 30 degrees / 90 degrees club, which is like right next door off of Frenchman Street. We caught a band there called Manic Mixtape, and I mean, the woman on stage that you see there, she put everything out there in the world. The whole club was going off, and she sang such a wide variety of music. You know, everything from Rage Against the Machine to all kinds of very soulful things. So It was just an incredible time, and I can't even begin to describe how much fun that first night in the French Quarter was.
It's just hard to say how hard we partied last night in the French Quarter.
You done messed up, AA Ron!
And
I know about sort of money from taking that ass.
I probably spent 60 to 80 days of my life in Vegas, and that's amateur hour compared to the partying here. These people do it at a different level. I must include as much video clips as we got on our phone as I can, but that's where it's at. We're trying to go get some breakfast before a tour this morning. This right here is God's gift. To empanadas. This is an empanada dream right here. All these are different flavors.
Morning.
Morning.
I'll get an onion blue cheese, egg and bacon.
Okay, what can you tell me about that parade last night?
Chebacca is one of the most fun parades in a walking quarter because you don't have much parades walking through the quarter once you're gonna get in a deep draw and stuff like that. But it got a very, very long, and it's just a lot of fun with the costumes and stuff like that.
That was so much fun. We like stumbled into it randomly.
It's just kind of like, you know, that's kind of not like
Just lighthearted.
the regular Mardi Gras, like, you know, it's very family friendly and stuff.
Yeah.
But this one is just like everyone is having so much
It
fun.
was. It was.
Oh my. Egg and cheese. I just got the egg and cheese. She got a trifecta. I got a little bit of hot sauce, a
Did you
little bit of
send yourself
cilantro
pictures?
lime. Yes, I did.
Nope.
I got the eggs and bacon. My God. A little bit of hot sauce here. What are you eating on? Oh, you're eating eggs and bacon too. So what can you tell me about the beignets?
Oh, the beignet is a New Orleans tradition, you know. You know, and people love it. That's why people come here every day, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a pure New Orleans tradition. You go to the Super Bowl, you see this. You go to the fairground, you see this. So it's a culture in New Orleans, the beignets. You don't really see it elsewhere, you know.
A beignet, fried dough, and sugar. Sure to be a hit. And it is. So you're supposed to put these in a bag, shake them up, get that sugar around as many places as possible. And then you can confirm. Good stuff. And now we're gonna go hear some music in the park. Look at this tree. So today, and just down the block from here, what do we see?
Well, I saw my first drug addict actually in real time shooting something into his veins.
Yeah, that guy passed out shooting dope. It's sad because I've had family impacted by drug addiction, but yeah, he was literally needle in his arm, passed out, and that's a new experience, you know?
Yeah.
These are things you don't always get to count on when you come to a new city. But hey, it's Nola, so what you gonna do? We are here at the Central Grocer, home of the original Muffaletta. And we're gonna check out a Muffaletta from the OG place to get it. About to get into this. I'm not a big fan of olives, and it's got a little olive salad on top. The meats sound great, the cheese sounds great. I'm not sure about the olive salad. We're gonna see how this goes. Okay. First bite, I didn't shiver from the olives. Can you hand me a napkin, huh? Oh, hold on, come on. Uh-oh.
So the wife and I were in the French Quarter right around the time of the Super Bowl, and this is in Jackson Square. What they had done is they had projected the lights up on St. Louis Cathedral, which is right on the edge of Jackson Square. And during this event, they had all kinds of people in costumes, and they had projected some Super Bowl images up there, and they had both teams represented. You know, they had the Philadelphia Eagles, and they had the Kansas City Chiefs. And then as the night went on, they went on to project this just entire light show. And so there's music going, a lot of people in the crowd, and there was, so this was a big NFL event essentially. But the light show was incredibly awesome. They had all kinds of horns and music and jazz playing, and the crowd was quite electric. So it was a really good time. And, you know, the wife and I really didn't think about going to Jackson Square or going to New Orleans around that time and what it would be like, but a lot of pre-Super Bowl festivities.
$44 breakfast sandwiches.
Thanks. So this is what a $22 breakfast bagel sandwich looks like. Here at Flower Moon, it looks good, but is it worth $22 for a breakfast bagel sandwich? I have my doubts. What do you think, baby?
I'd give him $12.
You give him about 12. I feel that. That's why she's my wife. Where are we going, Bob?
Walking to the Buckner Mansion in the Garden District.
Buckner Mansion in the Garden District. Do we know anything more about that Buckner Mansion?
No.
We know nothing.
Welcome to the Garden District of New Orleans, where the streets are lined with majestic oak trees. The mansions are so grand they practically have their own zip codes, and the local squirrels could probably qualify for a reality TV show. Let's take a stroll through this delightful neighborhood, shall we? Once upon a time, in the early 19th century, the Garden District was a place where the city's elite decided to plant their roots, or at least their very large homes. Picture this. Wealthy sugar barons and cotton moguls flexing their financial muscles, throwing lavish parties while sipping mint juleps on their porches and casually competing over who had fancier wrought iron fence. Spoiler alert, they all won. Fast forward to the mid-1800s, and the Garden District had blossomed into a prime spot for those who wanted to escape the raucous French Quarter. It was like the New Orleans version of Real Housewives, but with more magnolias and fewer arguments over who borrowed whose handbag. The architecture? Oh, darling. It's a delightful mix of Greek Revival, Italianate, and Victorian styles, like a fashion show for houses, only without the awkward runway walks. Now, let's talk about the gardens. These lush landscapes were designed to impress. You could say that they were the Instagram influencers of their time, showcasing the sprawling lawns and vibrant flowers that practically shouted, "Look at me, I'm fabulous." Every spring, the azaleas would bloom like they were auditioning for a role in a Broadway musical. As the years rolled on, the Garden District became a haven for artists, writers, and those with a flair for the dramatic. Think Tennessee Williams, who probably had a few wild parties under these oak trees, but let's not get into specifics. The area's charm and character attracted creatives like moths to a flame, or perhaps more like jazz musicians to a second-line parade. And then came the 20th century, when the Garden District faced a few bumps in the road. Hurricanes, urban decay, and a few questionable fashion choices. Remember parachute pants? But like any good New Orleans neighborhood, it bounced back with a vengeance, fueled by gumbo, resilience, and a sprinkle of jazz. Today, the Garden District is a vibrant mix of history and modern living. It's where tourists snap selfies in front of iconic homes, locals sip café au lait at charming cafes, and everyone secretly wishes they could live in one of those stately mansions while ignoring the hefty price tags, of course. So, whether you're strolling down Magazine Street, admiring the stunning architecture, or just enjoying a vignette while dodging the occasional streetcar, know this. The Garden District is not just a neighborhood, it's a celebration of life, history, and a dash of that unique New Orleans magic. And who knows, maybe those squirrels really are plotting their next big venture.